Have you ever heard of a criminal so brilliant, so daring, that every time he got locked up, the whole city would just start asking, "So, has Jack escaped yet?" This is the unbelievable true story of a man whose prison breaks were a bigger deal than the death of a king. A man who became a true icon of British history. Okay, get this. In just 9 months, 9 whirlwind months, one guy managed to escape from prison 16 different times. I mean, every escape was more unbelievable than the last. He basically turned the entire British justice system into his own personal puzzle box. And here's the real kicker. This master of escape, this legend in the making, he did all of this before he even turned 23. At just 22 years old, he had already carved his name into history forever. So how in the world did he pull it off? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Let's trace the incredible journey of how a young, ordinary carpenter became an immortal legend. First off, who exactly was Jack Sheppard? Well, he wasn't some big-time gang leader or a criminal mastermind, not at all. He was a carpenter, a simple carpenter. But that was his secret weapon, his deep, intimate knowledge of wood, of metal, of locks. It's what made every prison they put him in basically worthless against him. And his story didn't just stay in the crime reports. Oh no, it completely exploded into the culture. We're talking over 650 artistic and literary works inspired by him. His name found its way into almost 150 popular proverbs. And yes, he's even the reason we have the Jack-in-the-Box toy. The guy became a permanent part of British culture. Now, to really get inside Jack's head, we need to look at this fascinating psychological idea. It basically suggests that when someone is born into really, really tough circumstances, they tend to follow one of 3 main paths in life. It's all shaped by their environment and, how they deal with everything thrown at them. So these 3 paths pretty much laid out the choices for a guy like Jack. Path number 1 is the ghost. This is the person who just withdraws, becomes invisible, and makes no real impact on the world. Path 2 is the criminal, someone who lashes out, filled with rage at a society they feel has wronged them. And then there's path 3, the hardest one of all, the hero. This is the person who takes all those insane challenges and somehow forges them into a story of success. So, just think about it for a second. You're a young boy born into the absolute crushing poverty of London in 1702. Which path seems like the most likely one for you to take? Well, let's find out. Jack's story kicks off in a poor district called Spitalfields. And it's the events of his early childhood that really set him on this wild, unbelievable path. You see, Jack's father was his whole world, a gifted carpenter who taught him everything he knew. But when Jack was just 10, his dad died suddenly. Just like that, the family's light was gone. And Jack, he just broke. He took that first path, becoming a ghost. He was quiet, withdrawn, didn't even talk to his own family. But secretly, he spent all his time in his dad's old workshop, creating these incredible wooden masterpieces. But then, at age 14, some neighborhood kids kind of forced their way into his life. And for the first time, he saw a world beyond that workshop. And that's when he stepped onto the second path, the path of the criminal. But here's the thing. Jack wasn't violent. He didn't hurt people. He stole. And in his mind, it was a kind of justice. He truly believed that if his father hadn't died, his family would have been successful, maybe even wealthy. So to him, stealing from the rich wasn't a crime. He was just taking back what he felt society had already stolen from him. And the guy was clever. I mean, really clever. When he was just 15, he walked up to a policeman, said he was a sculptor, and offered to carve his portrait right there on the spot. Of course, the officer was flattered and posed for him. Pretty soon, his police buddies gathered around to watch this young artist work, and while Jack had the entire patrol completely captivated, his friends were quietly robbing a jewelry store nearby. He was a master of misdirection. But, his luck was bound to run out. At 17, he got caught. The police took one look at him. He was small, thin, not threatening at all, and they didn't see a dangerous criminal. They just tossed him into a standard prison cart, basically a wooden cage on wheels, and didn't give it a second thought. And that was their first big mistake. Because inside that cart, Jack pulled out a tiny blade he'd hidden, and he just started patiently sawing away at the old, rusty lock from the inside. The metal was weak, and bit by bit, he wore it down. After a couple of hard kicks, the lock just shattered. He waited for the right moment, quietly pushed open the door, and he and his 2 friends slipped out of the moving cart and just vanished into the city. That was escape number 1. The legend had begun. So as Jack kept escaping, and his methods got more and more brilliant, something really weird started to happen. The public, they stopped seeing him as just a thief. They started to see him as a symbol of defiance, this clever underdog who was constantly outsmarting a powerful and, let's be honest, often corrupt system. Then, at age 19, one single moment changed his entire life. He planned to rob an old woman, walked her home ready to do the deed. But before they got to her door, she just stopped him. She looked him in the eye and said, "I can read faces. You are a noble person, but you intend to rob me." She said, "How about this? You come inside, I'll give you a lesson about life, and then I'll give you money." Jack was just stunned. He agreed, and that woman became his mentor. She was the one person who saw his potential and started to guide him toward that third path, the path of the hero. Flash forward to age 22. He gets arrested again, and in an amazing twist, it's by the exact same cop he'd fooled with the sculpture trick years before. This time, the police decided to make a public example of him. They paraded him through London in an open cart loaded down with chains. But Jack, using a small nail he always had hidden, picked the locks on his hands and feet. And then, right in front of everyone, he just leaped from the moving cart into the huge crowd. And the people, they didn't turn him in. They hid him. They formed a human shield to block the police. His story was written down on papers, passed around, and became the biggest news in all of Britain. He wasn't just a criminal anymore. He was a folk hero. The authorities were just furious and totally humiliated. This started a crazy cat and mouse game. They'd catch him, stick him in an even more secure prison, and he would come up with an even more brilliant way to escape. It was a game he was always winning, and it pushed the police to some truly extreme measures. Okay, listen to this. In Clerkenwell Prison, he collected bits of wood and rope, built a ladder inside a toilet, and just climbed over the wall. In New Prison, they took away all his tools, so what does he do? He carves a piece from his wooden dinner plate, steals a brass candlestick, melts it down, and pours the metal over the wood to create his own custom lockpick. He opens his cell and escapes through a sewer. But his most famous escape? Newgate, the most secure prison in London. He spent a whole week just wiggling a nail loose from a door. He used that nail to saw through his cell bars, got to the roof, stole everyone's laundry, tied it into a rope, and just calmly lowered himself to freedom. It's unbelievable. He was free. But then he got news that just shattered him. His mentor, the old woman who had shown him that third path, had passed away. First, he'd lost his father, his first guiding light. Now, he lost his second. Feeling like his fight was pointless, like his beacon of hope was gone, a completely heartbroken Jack Sheppard walked to the nearest police station and just turned himself in. The authorities were determined this would be the end of his story, so they built a prison just for him. And it wasn't a cell, it was a box only 35 centimeters high and about 2.7 meters long. He was chained inside it, unable to even sit up, with just a tiny slot for food. It was his final prison, a living tomb. After 2 months inside that box, the order for his execution came down. On the day he was set to be hanged, an absolutely massive crowd of 200,000 people showed up. They actually rioted, attacking the police, trying desperately to save their hero. But it was too late. Jack Sheppard was executed. His story, it seemed, was over. But in death, his legend only got bigger, becoming a permanent, unshakable part of British folklore. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Was Jack Sheppard just a dangerous criminal who thumbed his nose at the law and got what was coming to him? Or was he something else? A brilliant, resilient man shaped by a cruel world, who became the hero that the people of his time desperately needed him to be? That's something for you to decide.